Now, here following the coup of Kensei, you can see that he sends a messenger to Rance and Envoy to, because Kensei is actually intelligent about knowing that Oda's really, really powerful, and there's no way he can fight Oda, so he wants to surrender, he wants Oda to vassalize them and be done with it. He's worried about his own safe being, his own well-being, and so he sends this guy over and says, Rance, we'll give you Kenshin if you let us surrender to you. And here you're given an option. You can accept the deal, and I've never done that, or you can fuck up the guy and kill him. If you accept the deal, Kenshin comes with you, but she doesn't fight for you, and she doesn't like you, and it's shitty. You don't want to do that. You don't want to reconcile. I've had a friend do that, and it's just, you don't get any of the good shit. You don't get anything good out of it, so you kill him. Rance calls him a Bebitar. I don't know what the fuck that is. If you do, please let me know. I know there's an enemy in the game called a Bebitar, and it's one of the few enemies that was released for the next game in 3D. You could see a 3D screenshot of it. That's what it is to me. I don't know what it is, but anyway. Once that happens, there are no more night raids. There is no more Kenshin and I. It's just really smooth sailing. Really smooth sailing. And I mean, like, fucking smooth. You'll see. It's easy as hell. These troops are not threatening. I mean, I have a fucking horrible makeup, so maybe I won't win, but I probably will. You don't want to hear me in doubt, do you? Certainly not. So here we go. And you can see that their banner was the Ashikaga banner. Right there. Ashikaga troops that joined Uesugi. That's what that is. Have him guard. Yeah, Meida's still a bad unit. Niwa's still a bad unit. Akechi's still a bad unit. A lot of times I'll try and mix in some shitty stuff with some good stuff to make the overall product worthwhile. Debuff these guys here. A tactician doesn't really have to be good to be able to do that stuff, so. Though you'll see when I get an AI, the Uesugi tactician, she is just amazing. She just starts out amazing, and she's such a good unit. She really is. And your first opportunity at a good tactician. And it comes kind of late to you. Also, the second reinforcement from Zeth would be another opportunity, but her abilities are the same as Mitsuhide's. They're not an improvement. They're just mirrors, pretty much, until you upgrade her. So we'll do this fight, and as you can see, there aren't really any, well, I don't know. I mean, this girl's kind of hot. That girl's kind of hot. And then there's an old guy and two old women, so they just feel all the ugly units, I guess. There's something wrong with this girl and this girl. I don't know. I don't know. But pretty easy win, Do-san-chan. I don't know why I used Monk Charge. Yokai Ward might have done the same thing. And I mentioned it briefly, but Yokai Ward is high damage against enemy yokai. Kind of obvious. So there aren't really any of those left in the game for me to fight. So it doesn't really matter as a skill. Well, there are, but I won't be fighting them. Obviously, the Northern Nation is composed entirely of yokai, but I'm not going to be fighting them. It's hard to fit that into a regular playthrough. So I'm not going to do it. Oh, this is kind of risky to do what I'm doing here. I don't give a shit, as you know by now. It'll probably work out anyway. Even though it's their capital. They're just so bad. Alright, go for one of these guys, and it hits the guard. Not a big surprise there. I may not have to even guard with Layla. In fact, it would probably be ideal to cripple one of the melee units up front. Because, oh, that's not even good. They're not hurting Rance at all. I was kind of worried about that, but I don't have any reason to be. If either of them cast a Shikigami, I probably won't be able to win. Such is life. Oh man, Layla's so cool. I love her character design. Like the way that armor and stuff looks on her. That looks so good. It just looks strong to me. I don't know how else to explain it. I'll heal up Rance. Miko can be useful, like right there, but I just don't find it useful very often. I might have wanted to hit a back row unit, but I want to free up Rance so he can actually attack something. And that's what that destruction of the guard Shikigami was all about. In any case, Uesugi counterattacks blow. They suck dick after Kensei does what he did. So I'll be able to have it. With guarantee in my next turn. Even if I don't get it this play. That's alright. I expected that to happen. Let me see here. I'll wait for Ando to go. She may guard again, she may attack. I'm hoping she attacks. The guard unit I'm talking about here. And she doesn't. That is also okay. Ando should be able to kill these two. I probably won't win. Whatever. Should be able to kill that warrior up front too. Or I'll be disappointed in him. He knows that. Ando knows. Look at that. Amazing casualties. Still doesn't push it back far enough for me though. Ah well. And then my turn. Like so. Even though it was a loss, I didn't really suffer from that. None of my troops were like slaughtered, and I didn't mention this before either, but Layla, her troops are very cheap. They're easy to get her a lot of troops, and it's easy to replenish them. They're just inexpensive. They're like other guard units. So. And here Souun finds out, for the most part, what Ran has been summoning. He finds out the danger. And he tries to talk to her about it, but she's just got this newfound power, and she's really strong, and she's helping him, and she feels great about herself, and she expects praise. And instead, Souun tells her, quite coldly, that she needs to stop summoning him, which seems really unfair to her. And it's easy to understand why her reaction is what it is, I think. A normal person probably would have reacted the same way. Because Souun didn't, you know, approach the situation properly. He does later again, though. And of course this means that Hojo is catching word of the demon's resurrection because of this. Because she's able to summon him. Maybe they're not related, but Souun thinks that they might be. So he becomes wary of what's happening. He doesn't know about Xavier. He doesn't know about Nobunaga being possessed. No one really knows about that. Inukai would have found out about that had he still been alive. They find out that he's possessed by the demon. And if you leave Iga around long enough, well, if you leave Iga there and you conquer the Tenshi sect, Seigen retreats into Iga territory for safety. Which is interesting to point that out. But yeah, eventually, very shortly here, the people within Oda will find out what's going on. And they'll handle that. But here, Souun's trying to explain his perspective on what Ran's doing, and Ran is just kind of ignoring it. She's being stubborn. Because this is really the best thing that's happened to her ever. So. That's how that goes. Well, the events unfold here like they will on their own, so I don't want to go over them just yet, but yeah, basically everything bad that happens to Ran is kind of centered around summoning Suzaku. Though, she doesn't have to summon him for the bad things to happen. It'll happen either way. Ren can have a couple things happen to her. I've mentioned before that she dies in almost every route but her own, which is largely true. The route where you kill the monkey at the beginning of the game prevents her death as well. Sometimes she can still die in that route. But she can die in Oda's jail. She can die in her own territory should you not conquer Hojo. She can die in Takeda's territory should Hojo get conquered by Takeda. She'll just die. Just explode. A lot of times alone, which makes it even more depressing. Oh, Tenshi sect. Fuck you guys. Alright, so now I'm gonna have to tend to that territory shortly as well. Pain in the ass. Takuga. These guys, Their whole faction reminds me of myself in high school, you know? Like, look at Ryoma's style. Didn't all of the rejected kids in high school feel the way that person looks? I sure as hell did. All those, like, they just, well, let's take another territory, and they do it just because they feel like it. They don't think about the consequences, and if any of these characters die, there are sequences where they may. It's difficult to explain right now, but anyway, when they die, they don't expect it. They're just like, oh shit, I'm not immortal, you know? They remind me of my teenage self very, very heavily. So it's one of the reasons I like this army a lot. You know, for various reasons, they remind me of myself when I was in high school. Perhaps, nah, I won't say that. Anyway, though, yeah, they're cool. I'm sure I'm not the only person who felt that way about them. I'm positive of that. But they're a cool bunch, and they're all so happy. They don't really realize what they've done. They've declared war on Mouri, and they don't realize that. There's no way in hell they would stand up to Mouri. No way in hell. But they don't care. They don't realize it. And they just start naming each other, you know, what they are. I'll be the leader. He can be my chief vassal. Oh well. I don't know. And like Ryoma makes Mine a tactician, but she's still a warrior. They don't even have their army set up right. And then they go and meet with Mouri. They meet with him, and they actually create an alliance because Motonari appreciates their ambition in taking one of his territories just like that. So he finds it interesting. He really loves war. He really loves fighting. Things like that. He doesn't give a shit. He knows that they're not really a threat. And I don't think that he cares. And though he meets threats in a non-serious manner too, he'll just, like, when you're fighting him as Oda, he just loves it up until the end. And when more powerful nations declare war on their nation, he just kind of blows it off. You'll see that play out as well. But he's really strong. And during Kenshin's route, you can try to assassinate Motonari with a musket unit. And the musket round hits him in the forehead and he just flexes it out, you know? He's one of those guys. He's really strong. Motonari's a really powerful unit. And he's unique in the field, too, because he doesn't have troops behind him. It's just him. He just goes out there. He has 400 health. And he does defaulted 200 damage to whatever he attacks. Every time. So, he's not really threatening to see in the field, but you don't want to fight him over and over. He appears in the battle as a commander unit, because it's just him. And there are, like, Rance has troops, right? 600 troops, for example. Motonari has 400 health. It's basically like he has 400 troops. That's how the health is treated. Having troops is synonymous with having health in this game. Well, Motonari, every time you wipe him out, like destroy all 400 of his troops and make him leave the field, he'll re-enter the field again with 450 troops, then 500 troops, then 550 troops, and it'll get really fucking out of hand if you just keep doing that to him. And you can actually, it can become kind of impossible for you to defeat Motonari if you continue to do that. They don't explain that mechanic, why it exists, and I'm only explaining it now because I will not fight Mouri. But there's a lot to say about that army too, and I kind of wish that I had an opportunity to fight against them so I could explain it. Because you'll need that knowledge if you intend to fight them. You'll need to know the things that they can do. Takuga's so basic, you don't need to know about them much. Akashi is so basic. Tanegashima is really unique too, and that's why I skipped them. That's why I chose not to fight them, because all the musket units, they're not unpredictable, but if something goes wrong at all, any of my commanders could be one shot. Rance could be one shot, guaranteed. All 600 of his troops dead in one attack. First attack of the match, just gone. And obviously that's a game over, and I wanted to avoid shit like that in this playthrough. So that's the logic I put in there. And here they talk about Motonari behind his back. And of course he made fun of Takuga because what are they? They're a group of basically kid-like people trying to contend with him, trying to contend with the big players, and they can't. No way in hell.